The other person who's informed our scientific story is Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution. It suggests that survival is available only to the fittest, the most ruggedly strongest genetic individual. His theories also say that genes are the master builder of our bodies, and we're at the mercy of them. We're some sort of genetic mistake, and these genes control us like Chicago thugs and use us in order to survive. Another scientific story that we live by is the idea that time is linear. It's a one-way arrow flowing in only one direction from cradle to grave. We also think of space as well as time as finite constants. And then as far as influence, we think that it only can occur through force. For one thing to influence something else, you've got to do something physical to it. You've got to drop it, freeze it, burn it, or give it a good swift kick. When I was growing up in America, there was an advertisement, Better Living Through Chemistry. And to me, that characterizes the current worldview of biology. All of our biology, according to this worldview, from joy and sorrow to anger and even genius, has been reduced to a chemical reaction. We believe that everything in our body, every molecular reaction, is only due to chemicals. Another aspect of the scientific story concerns where mind is, where consciousness is. According to most orthodox scientists, mind equals brain, and mind is locked inside the skull. According to the scientific story, emotions also equal brain. Scientists today think they can tell you where each of our emotions is located, and they describe them as little more than a series of electrical discharges. Medical scientists today consider healing as only occurring through chemical manipulation, and of course we all know how well that works, or by mending a break. So all of this adds up to a paradigm of the body as machine. It also adds up to a pretty bleak vision. It's a tale of utter isolation, because these in their essence are stories that idealize separateness. From the moment we're born, we're told that only the strong survive, that life's about winning, elbowing out the other guy, that for every winner there's got to be a loser, zero-sum game, eat or be eaten. And from that constricted vision, we've fashioned our world, and more importantly, our view of ourselves, all based on the idea that we're separate, discrete, individual. This worldview affects everything in our lives. Think about it. It affects our relationships. We think of ourselves as separate from the other. Our environment. We think of ourselves as separate from our world and the place we live in, and our trees and our ground. We create our corporate environments based on the idea of separation and competition. Our schools, our educational environment, based on the idea of honoring the individual and competition. Our societies, our country, our planet, all based on the idea of separation. But maybe the scientific story is not the whole story. It's now clear that the story we've been told is about to be replaced by a drastically revised version. A new chapter is unfolding, and this new chapter gives us much more information and a much better paradigm of how intention could work and affect the physical world. This new scientific story shows us that we are not just chemistry, but energy, and all part of an energy field. We're also beginning to understand that the world is not final and finished, but unfinished, constantly in flux, and so open to influence and change. That everything's connected and affecting everything else at every moment. And that time and space are only an idea, only a human construct. Frontier scientists today understand that we exist only and entirely in relationship. a number of frontier scientists have understood that we are all part of a thing called the zero-point field. Now, many masters of intention talk about the unified field or the matrix or any one of a number of ideas like this. What I like best about the zero-point field is that it's an actual something that's been measured. Quantum scientists, from the discovery of quantum physics, have understood that there's a little energy tango that goes on between subatomic particles. Each one passes energy back and forth like a little game of basketball. And in this energy exchange, a little virtual particle is created just for a flicker of a moment, just less than the blink of an eye. Now, this one little bit of energy exchange only creates half a watt's worth of energy. It's not much to write home about. But when you consider all the little energy exchanges between all the subatomic particles in all of the universe, you come up with this unfathomable amount of energy just sitting there in empty space like some supercharged backdrop. Now, we understand that we are also, at our most elemental, an energetic charge, also doing an energy dance with this zero-point field. We are constantly sending information back and forth, always in relationship. Frontier scientists also understand that the world is not set and finalized like Newton described. But in the subatomic world, I like to say it's a little bit like unset jello. Because the quantum fathers who discovered quantum physics discovered that these smallest bits of the universe aren't a set something, but just a potential. They're still in a state of becoming. If you were sitting in an auditorium in front of me just at this moment, I would try to explain an electron to you by describing it as one of the seats in the auditorium. But to be really clear about it, as it actually is, you'd say that the electron is not a single seat, but every seat in the audience. It's the entire stadium. It's every possible thing, all at the same moment. When you understand this, you realize that at this subatomic level, reality is unfinished and also mutable. It's influenceable. It can be changed. Now, quantum physicists have also discovered something really amazing about the power of mind and how it could be interlinked with matter. They discovered in the laboratory that this potential, this unset jello, the subatomic particle, would only collapse down to a set state when a scientist observed it or took a measurement. From that, they concluded that there probably is something that is now called the observer effect, which is the idea that consciousness is somehow co-creating our world. We think, therefore we affect. We're also discovering that instant connections occur at the subatomic level in every way. I like to describe this as separated at birth. It's the whole idea that subatomic particles retain some kind of instant connection with each other, no matter how far you move them apart. To understand this, just imagine twin boys that are separated at birth, and move one to Vail, Colorado, and the other to New York. And even though they never see each other again, they retain identical interests and a telepathic connection with each other. As they grow up, you discover that both love the same color blue, both marry a woman called Jane, and if the twin in Vail breaks his leg skiing, the twin in Manhattan will do so at exactly the same moment, even though he's sitting in Starbucks sipping a latte. It's this idea that subatomic particles have the same or opposite luck. They'll continue to talk to each other, and whatever happens to one is identical to or the very opposite of what happens to the other. It's this idea of instant connections continuing and happening no matter how far you take them apart.